Here we are then, Odyssey 6, last two sections, 145 to 159. We left Odysseus in the last section. He was debating with himself how to approach Nausicaa. Does he fall at her knees, take hold of her knees and beg for mercy, beg for a favour, or does he stand at a distance and just address her, speak to her from a distance, carefully, persuasively? That's the dilemma. So then in 145 we have here, hose goes with phroneonti, thinking thus. It's just rounding up, encapsulating what Odysseus had been thinking in the previous section. Thinking thus, therefore, this ara isn't the ara that introduces a question in GCSE Greek. It's logical. So, thinking thus, this is the verb here, as you can see. It means it seemed. It's edoxe in classical Attic Greek, and I suppose there's a D and an O at the beginning, but otherwise they don't really resemble one another. It seemed, this is the tricky word, hoi, to him. Remember, in Homeric Greek, this word, which looks like the definite article in Attic Greek, is the equivalent of autoi. So, like that. So it's the dative, to him. To him, thinking thus, it seemed to be better. Kerdion is a comparative. It seemed to him to be better to entreat her. We have to supply Nausicaa. It's the infinitive lysesthai, as you can see, to entreat her, standing at a distance. You can see the standing in stada, and you can see the at a distance with the apo, from. Standing at a distance with flattering words. Epos is the word for word, and melikios is the adjective meaning flattering. So that's the option he's decided on. Then in the next line we're told why he's decided on that option. And we have me and an optative, and it's a negative purpose clause. And I rather like lest as a translation for the negative purpose clause. So we'll say, lest the girl should grow angry, kolosaito, should grow angry in her heart or in her mind against him. There's hoi again, the same as autoi, should grow angry to him, should grow angry against him. Labonti is dative, going with the hoi, which is dative. Lest the girl should grow angry with him, having taken hold of her knee, guna. So he's quite right, Odysseus. Odysseus realises that if he formally supplicates Nausicaa, falls to his knees, takes hold of her knees, this would prompt an angry reaction from Nausicaa. And this isn't what he wants. He wants her sympathy and her kindness. He doesn't want her anger. Anger's the last thing he wants. So having decided on that, immediately, autica, I suppose that indicates Odysseus's decisiveness. Immediately he spoke. There's our verb, phato, no augment as usual. He spoke. It is a singular, muthon, a word, and we have to make it plural, obviously. He spoke words, and then the words are flattering and clever, kerdalios, crafty, you might say. Immediately he spoke the following flattering and crafty words. Okay, what does he say? Gunumai se. So this word gunumai, which of course is related to guna, 2 lines above, it means here to beg you. I beg you, mistress, anasa. Now notice then that those are the first words that Odysseus addresses to Nausicaa, and he addresses her as mistress. This is flattery. She's a teenage girl. She won't be used to being addressed as mistress, although maybe she will be by her maids. But she won't. Yes, but it's flattery one way or the other. I beg you, gounomysa. So the first word there, though he doesn't fall to his knees, he does with his words do the same. He doesn't fall to his knees. That would be a dangerous approach. But he falls to his knees in words, as it were. I beg you, mistress. So he makes it clear with his first word that what his position is. Then what does he say? You know in Attic Greek that esti is he is. Here is esi, which is you are. It's not the Attic Greek for you are, but you can see that it's related to esti, which is the third person. Esi is the second person. It's clearly a question. Are you some god? We'd probably say goddess, I would imagine. Are you some goddess? Notice the tis there is the indefinite. Or, brotos is the word for a mortal, the opposite of a god or a goddess. Are you some goddess? Or are you a mortal? Now, obviously there's flattery here. And theos, remember, is the first word in the second half of the line. We know where the caesura is in that line. It's at the colon there after anassa. Okay, so theos is the first word in the second half of the line. As a pause at anassa. Gounomysa anassa. Pause. Theos nutis. Okay, so it's a first word. It doesn't look like it's first word, but it is first word in the second half of the line. It's emphatic. Are you a goddess? Now this is flattery, obviously, and I suppose you might argue not very subtle flattery, but having said that, there could be some genuine uncertainty in Odysseus' mind. You know, he's met goddesses before. This could be another such encounter. And then in line 150 he says, so then if on the one hand you are a goddess, and we'll find in the next page, 153, that balancing amen, if on the one hand, we will get a de, if on the other hand. Odysseus' speech here is very carefully constructed, with tricolons, with men and de, and I suppose the careful construction of the speech is some suggestion of Odysseus' craft here. He's crafty. He's being very, very careful. And it is a very tactful speech here. Tact is the word. He's respectful on the one hand, he's flattering on the other, and he combines the two. So if you are a goddess, we have to supply, what we've got here is who, in actual fact it's the relative, who have, we'll say inhabit, who inhabit the wide heavens. We've got to say something like, if you are a goddess, one of those who inhabit the wide heavens, then our verb is here, isco. I think you are like. I liken you. Here's the you, se. Most closely. Ankista is the superlative adverb, like, you know, takista, very quickly, ankista, very closely. I liken you most closely to Artemis. Now notice that Artemis is the first word there, so it's emphatic. If you are a goddess, then you must be Artemis, says Odysseus, the daughter of great Zeus. Again, this is flattery. It's interesting, isn't it, that Homer himself, only a few lines earlier, has compared Nausicaa to Artemis, and now he gives to his hero Odysseus the same perception. She's just like Artemis. And then he specifies 3 ways in which she is just like Artemis. In appearance, eidos, in size, megathos, and in stature. A little tricolon of similarities. Notice, though, that these similarities are, though they're complementary, obviously, they're not too personal. You know, he's managing to flatter her, but also keep a distance at the same time. I liken you most closely to Artemis, daughter of great Zeus, in appearance and in size and in stature. So this is the flattery, the combination of respect and flattery which Odysseus employs. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that Odysseus doesn't compare Nausicaa to, shall we say, Aphrodite, goddess of love and sex. Now that wouldn't be tactful. That would suggest that Odysseus has designs on Nausicaa, that he has ulterior motives. The comparison with Artemis is very carefully chosen by Homer in the simile and by Odysseus here. And remember, what is the comparison? Well, Artemis, remember, is the virgin goddess. She's also she's quite athletic, Artemis, if you remember. She's the huntress. She's always chasing deer and boar. And I think we've got to assume that Nausicaa herself playing ball on the beach. She's a tall girl. I would imagine she's slim and she's athletic. These are the ideas which the comparison with Artemis brings to mind. So then we have, if on the other hand you are one of the mortals, I think we'd probably just say a mortal. If on the other hand you are a mortal, one of the mortals who live upon the earth. Notice that phrase, who live upon the earth, how that matches the phrase about the gods who inhabit wide heaven. Again, this is the clear construction of the speech. So if you are, on the other hand, a mortal girl, then we have an interesting phrase here, tris macares, 3 times blessed, thrice blessed in old-fashioned English. Thrice blessed are your father and your lady mother. Thrice blessed are your brothers. So if you are not a goddess, if you're a mortal girl, then your mother and your father are very lucky parents, and your brothers are very lucky boys to have a sister, to have a daughter of such beauty and such grace. Now again, of course, this is more flattery. The thrice blessed is very heavily emphasized, isn't it? It's at the beginning of the sentence and repeated. They're not just blessed, they are thrice blessed. So this tris is what we call an intensifier. It's almost as if it's a superlative. Mind you, having said that, the superlative is postponed later on to the penultimate line here, makartatos, to describe somebody else. So thrice blessed are your father and your lady mother, thrice blessed are your brothers. So line 155, very much, greatly, Yeah, greatly. It's an adverb, and it describes the verb. The verb, in fact, is in the next line. It's einomai, which is to glow with warmth. And what glows with warmth here is the thumos. And I think we'll translate that as spirit. Their spirit. There's the sphici here. Their spirit. The spirit of their hearts, rather. The hearts of the father, the mother, and the brothers. Their hearts glow greatly, always, with pleasure. It's a dative plural in actual fact there, euphrosine, with pleasure. Their hearts, I think we might be inclined to say something like, must always glow greatly with pleasure on account of you. Notice how the you is emphasised by its position at the end of the line there. Whenever the parents, whenever the brothers think about their daughter or their sister Nausicaa, their hearts are warmed with the thought. In fact, then, Homer specifies one particular occasion when the hearts of the parents and the hearts of Nausicaa's brothers will glow. And that is when they see, lusomai is the verb here, when they see such a beautiful flower. Thalos is a neuter noun. It's not a masculine noun like logos. It's a neuter noun like takos, and therefore that's the accusative case, thalos. When they see such a beautiful flower entering the dance, choros here, our word chorus, is the dance in Greek, and dancing was an important part of social life in ancient Greece, as I suppose it's an important part of social life in modern England. Even sort of, you probably don't know, but in the 20th century, if you were the daughter of a noble family or a wealthy family in England, you'd be a debutante, a deb, and you'd go to dances, to balls, and you'd be introduced to society, and you'd be introduced to potential suitors. And clearly the situation is not dissimilar in ancient Greece. Nausicaa, there would be religious festivals throughout the year, and part of these festivals would be dancing. Now, we had a reference to the sons dancing, didn't we, at the beginning of our text, when Nausicaa is trying to persuade her father to allow her to go to the beach to launder the clothes, because her brothers will need clean clothes to go to the dance. And here we have the dance again. So dancing here is a way for young people of either sex to meet and to court, and I suppose, and in the end to marry, and that process starts with the dance. And it's interesting that we have choros here in line, 157, and then immediately in 158 we have mention of Nausicaa's bridegroom. There's a connection between the dance and between marriage. It's where a bride and groom will first meet. So our last couple of lines then. He says, though her father and mother and her brothers will be thrice blessed, that man, it's in Attic Greek it's ekainos, isn't it? Here it's just kainos, it's lost the epsilon on the front. That man, in his turn, the father will be happy, the brothers are happy, and the bridegroom in his turn will be happy. So that man in his turn will be the most blessed. It's a superlative. In his heart, perikeri, around his heart, I suppose, literally. So that man will be most blessed in his heart. And then to reinforce the superlative, we have this phrase on the end of the line, exokon alone, beyond others, most blessed, beyond others. And then in the last line, we are told who that man, that most blessed man is. It's the man who will lead, ago, you, se, to his home. And we supply the phrase, as his bride, who will lead you home as his bride. But then we have these two words in the middle of the line. What do they mean? Well, who will lead you home as his bride. Having prevailed, brissas, it's an aorist participle, like pausas, having stopped, brissas, having prevailed, with his, the only phrase we can use really would be with his bride price, and I would probably hyphenate those two words. Now, it was usual in the ancient world for the bride's family to pay money, to pay a dowry, we call it, to the groom's family. But in this case, it's the other way round. The groom is paying money to the bride's family. Now, no doubt this is because the bride's family is the royal family, and the young man, by marrying Nausicaa, will be entering the royal family, and for this privilege he's going to have to pay a price. So that man will be most blessed in his heart, beyond others, who will lead you to his home as his bride, comma, having prevailed with his bride price. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, having prevailed means having prevailed over other suitors. It's almost it introduces a rather mercenary notion into this. He's paid the most money. It does. It's not a notion that in the modern world, you know, the ideal is that we marry for love. Well, certainly money has spoken in this arrangement, as well as love.